I'm Jim Czek. You're watching Now Media. Excited to launch season 2 of the Bitcoin Show. Scott Dedels and I did season 1. Scott, welcome back. It's been a bit of a hiatus. And while you were gone, this Bitcoin went through the roof.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the perfect break for us to take some time off and let Bitcoin do its thing.
Can we do that side-by-side thing too? I don't know if you can mess with that while we have that. I don't know if that's possible. Yeah, we'll just keep going here. We'll do the side-by-side thing. But yeah, so it's gone crazy.
Yeah.
And which is great. The floor looks like it's solid at 100 grand. And obviously, we've seen this big jump here during the election, right? The election of Trump, their administration very, very friendly with Bitcoin, right? And then we're seeing all these regulations, and there's a couple bills in front of the Senate and the House that have passed. Now it just needs a signature.
Yeah, friendly regulatory clarity is one thing. I think there are two other really significant sort of structural changes to the Bitcoin market. And one of them has been the BlackRock ETFs, which launched in January of 2024, which have been far and away the most successful ETF launch products ever, and they are the best performing ETFs ever. And so the inflows, you can see how much money is going into those, and it's massive. And the other one is the profile of the buyer. So 5 years ago, there wasn't a single company that, publicly traded company, non-Bitcoin company that owned Bitcoin as a corporate asset. And that changed in the spring of 2020. Michael Saylor's company MicroStrategy announced they were going to start buying Bitcoin. They were totally ridiculed as the Bitcoin price went down. He's been doubling down, buying more and more. But now you flash forward to 2025, and there are 50, 100 copycat companies that are doing the same thing. So corporations are starting to understand that Bitcoin is a highly desirable thing for a portion of your balance sheet to be allocated towards. And I believe that what we're actually seeing right now is a sort of a structural change. By the end of the decade, every serious company will hold some Bitcoin because it just makes sense. It is a pristine form of collateral that escapes the currency debasement problem that every company is trying to figure out how to deal with anyways. And that was really like how it started. Michael Saylor was simply they had 500 million on their balance sheet that was getting eaten away by money printing, and they didn't know what to do with it. They could have issued dividends or share buyback, destruction of capital stuff, and they decided to buy Bitcoin instead. Today, they own 600,000 Bitcoin. He said yesterday, basically, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, they have an unlimited ability to raise more money to buy more Bitcoin. So you're not now, as an ordinary investor, buying Bitcoin against the other people that are buying and selling Bitcoin.
600,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah,
they own. So an increase of $1,000, which is like a nanosecond in Bitcoin world, right?
I mean, and there's an enormous market.
Is $60 billion, $1,000?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
somebody else can do the math for me.
Yeah, and so I think what people also, unless you're like super closely following the space, there are a lot of market buyers like German reinsurers that can't buy Bitcoin, but they can buy corporate bonds. And so this is what MicroStrategy is doing. They're issuing corporate bonds, and they're using that capital to buy Bitcoin.
They're leveraging them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we're just, the market appetite for Bitcoin and Bitcoin related products is exploding. And that's the reason why the price is doing what it's done.
And then I would say to people, just in anything, if the environment is right, because when the early adopters, the people that are buying it at the below 10, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, there was a lot of speculation there. Because you could make the argument that it could go back to zero. But when the regulatory environment changes, when you have such a friendly environment now, and U.S. being the the economy of the world, that the U.S. exchange, the dollar, and them talking about even making some Bitcoin as part of reserve currency. Mm-hmm. It's huge, and it puts in a floor that is, I think most people didn't even recognize, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you were early on, but did you believe that was coming for Bitcoin this early?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you never want to put a target and a time. So you're going to have one or the other. It's hard to say how fast these things are going to happen. But like I said, I believe that every business will own Bitcoin, and today maybe 100 do, maybe 1,000, private companies, the number's bigger. But we're still early. Everyone today, right now, is early to Bitcoin. If you imagine a world where the United States chooses to treat Bitcoin like it's some kind of strategic national asset, then there are many more levels of how Bitcoin could be treated as a type of asset or property.
I remember in Canada when Pierre Poilievre started promoting Bitcoin when he was running for the leadership of the Conservative Party, and I think he bought some shawarma, I think, in some like store where he tried to use the Bitcoin there to use it. And then Justin Trudeau, obviously Bitcoin fell down a little bit after that. And then Trudeau went after him and said that if you invested in Bitcoin, you would have lost all your, they kind of exaggerated.
Which is obviously completely and a totally idiotic statement, because all you have to do is hold. And anybody who's held Bitcoin, this is true today, Bitcoin's, unless you bought in the last 48 hours, anyone who's held Bitcoin for more than 4 years is in significant profit. Yeah. Everyone across the world. So what you just need to do with Bitcoin is take a little bit more of a long-term horizon than a year, and the historical performance suggests that you'll do very well.
Yeah, so in his disclosure, Pierre Poilievre, I think it was like 10 grand at that moment in time when he disclosed, and obviously it's probably double that what it is. I didn't see any Bitcoin in Carney's portfolio. I don't know, did you look through it and see any? I didn't see any.
Yeah, I mean, Carney is a globalist banker, and Bitcoin is really the solution to the global banking cartel. Oh. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's not a fan if he isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see him. That doesn't mean personally he doesn't have it outside. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who knows?
I mean, and Carney's also famous for not disclosing his holdings. So
that's what I mean. So who knows what he has? But there is some friendly stuff here in Vancouver. Ken Sim, the mayor there, says he wants to make Vancouver the Bitcoin capital of Canada. Yeah. I mean, we don't see that too much, in other places. BC is not friendly to Bitcoin miners as well. They have like a moratorium on Bitcoin miners, whereas Alberta is like, hey, come on over. And so there's some fintech in Alberta, right?
Yeah, and there's maybe two threads to pull on there. One, it's a sad misunderstanding by Fortis of what Bitcoin mining actually does, because people view it as consumption only. Mm-hmm. But in Texas, Bitcoin miners actually stabilize the electrical grid, because Bitcoin miners produce something called flexible load demand. So miners can actually scale up and scale down. And they're one of very few things that are large consumers of electricity that can do that. And so they actually help the electrical grid by consuming it at low times. The Ken Sim thing, I think, he was talking on our podcast, the Black Reward podcast, in February. He came on to discuss, why do cities need to think about owning Bitcoin? And it's the same reason why companies need to, because cities face the same problem. The city of Vancouver is sitting on some number of billions of dollars, and that money the value of that money is also being eroded away by the government through continuous expansion of the money supply. And so cities have this same sort of fiduciary responsibility to their citizens to make good choices, and Bitcoin is the best defense tool you have against money printing.
It also attracts, I guess, what you could say if Vancouver becomes the Bitcoin capital of Canada. It attracts the bright minds that are involved in that space as well, right? Because that's where BC is lacking right now. There's a capital outflow of investment. So how do you attract the brightest and the in this new technology, right? Really, especially as we see AI start to proliferate throughout the world. With Grok 4 launching Super Grok or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and Bitcoin will be the preferred currency of AI. Yeah. And so there's an obvious synergy there. I think that it's not difficult to imagine AI needing a form of money where it can transact without a human consent. No. And so that's not a bank account. That's a wallet where an AI could sign a transaction from an address. And that will be true of your taxi bot. You'll be able to set your Tesla to auto drive, and it will go around and it will collect Bitcoin for you while you're busy at work. And that's not.
Okay, and I get home, I can yell at it. You got to get more money. You got to work harder.
But I mean, even that, the AI itself will be programmed to optimize how much it's collecting. Yeah. So this is the future we're going towards, now.
Yeah, and then when you talk about the energy grid, that's the other misconception for EVs, where they think it's going to cripple the grid, when actually EVs could be stabilizing, just like we say with Bitcoin miners. Because if you have the EVs plugged in, no different than like battery backup, you can actually draw on peak times, right? They become your peaker plant, right? So if everybody's driving an EV and they're plugged into the grid and say there was a peak period, instead of them pulling energy, they could actually give energy back to the grid, right? Yeah. So it actually is a stabilizer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all how you look at things, right? So, yeah. They signed those bills in the States. Passed the Senate, passed the House. How big is that?
Huge, and we were talking about this offline. I mean, there have been so many different legislative changes since the inauguration in January that, there's...
Well, we've seen the jump, right? In November, the day of the election, Bitcoin jumped huge.
And there was a dip, everything dropped in the spring when the tariff, there was a lot of uncertainty around how that was going to go. Yeah. But if you take that period out, Texas, the state of Texas is moving forward with their own state Bitcoin reserve. So the state of Texas, and Texas is a really interesting case, right? Because they joined voluntarily. They sort of view themselves as kind of, it's a little bit like Alberta, but they're actually probably better positioned to leave the United States than Alberta even is, because Texas is the only state that has its own electrical grid. They have all kinds of industry.
That's why they call it the Lone Star State.
That's right. Yeah. So like that's a huge one on its own. The two largest mortgage lenders in the U.S., Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, now have to, not now, by the end of the year, are going to have to accept Bitcoin as collateral for mortgage loans. And this also just happened in Australia. And so this is another one where, people have been buying Bitcoin basically for the speculation that it's going to go higher for the longest time. Yep. But now what we're starting to see is, the financialization of Bitcoin through a corporate lens, like with MicroStrategy. Yep. We're seeing it become a acknowledged form of collateral for tier one lenders. Yeah. And so what we're really witnessing right now is the evolution of this non-physical store of value into something that is part of mainstream finance.
And I think that one of the things that you hit on there is that asset allocation, where you're going to see some bigger pension funds and different things start to allocate a percentage. And that would be huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the different conservative portfolio funds now have a 3% weighting to the BlackRock IBIT fund in the conservative portfolio. Yeah. So that would suggest, if you're just following that portfolio, some allocation of Bitcoin is difficult to ignore now.
Tesla has a little bit of Bitcoin. Yeah, when they were actually never sold. They took Bitcoin for a while for the purchase of cars. Yeah. And then Elon got a lot of grief for that, and then he backed off because obviously he was a big fan of the meme coin too, the Doge coin.
I mean, what I heard happen there is, particularly at that time, Tesla was relying heavily on the carbon credits, and his endorsement of Bitcoin was threatening his access to carbon credits.
So he backed off, and I just think if it had carried on, they would just they'd probably be out. Him and Michael Saylor would probably be laughing over a few beers.
That's right.
It comes back to that Frank Jurista there, that big. Remember they had the head-to-head, him and Saylor, and Michael kind of won for a while, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin dropped quite a bit, and gold ran up, and then Frank was pumping his tires or whatever. But it's all a matter of time. But gold is still like for a lot of people. I mean, I'm still a believer in gold, but I do believe that what's happened with Bitcoin is the wind is in the sails of Bitcoin. I mean, it's clearly the wind is in the sails, and also the technology where we're moving to in this AI world. It really favors like a modern asset as opposed to. Absolutely. I'm not saying gold is worthless. I'm just saying because it's still held by many central banks, right? It's the second currency our second asset that's held other than USD, right? So and Bitcoin still. I think there's a few countries like El Salvador or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think before Bitcoin becomes sort of a global form of medium of exchange, what we're really seeing right now is the digitization of how people conceptualize a store of value. So Bitcoin today is a $2 trillion asset in a globe that has $2 quadrillion or more of assets. And there are some huge asset classes, forget about cash, right? The global commercial real estate market is like 300 trillion. And we were talking about this offline, but AI and work from home, the market dynamics have really changed the value of commercial real estate in a lot of the major US cities. And that value was being used for a long time as a way to protect capital, as a great way to store your...
Real estate was always a thing, right?
Right. And so if you, instead of having to worry about market dynamics, what Bitcoin has effectively done is produce something that offers all of the benefits of owning a high-rise building in downtown Vancouver with none of the headaches. You don't have to worry about who the mayor is. You don't have to worry about your tenants and upgrades and
crime,
tax
blah,
events.
blah, blah, blah,
right.
Right?
You can take it anywhere in the world. And so it really democratizes people's access to a high quality store of value, which is, I think, the most important thing when we're faced with this problem of accelerating currency debasement, is people are looking for solutions to grow their money faster than it's melting. And if one thing continues to be prove that it's performing better than everything else, and that is kind of what has happened. Or if you
it is kind of independence, and it does give you fluidity and moving and different things. And I would say, and I liken that to an EV and energy of solars, because you can't get energy independence through oil and gas, right? Mm-hmm. But you can if you have an EV and you have solar, right? Yeah. Because then you're controlling your own energy. It's a similar type thing, and I think that's the future of many things, right? And I think. But I do want to say Block Rewards is the sponsor of this show, and you do something that's really kind of unique that we want to share. Yeah. You do payroll savings plans kind of for like basically part of benefits, right? So people can actually put their employees on like a Bitcoin partial payment will be in Bitcoin.
Bitcoin savings plan. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up, Jim. The idea here is the same way that companies are figuring out that it's beneficial for them to allocate part of their capital to Bitcoin. The same is true for people. And what we're trying to do at Block Rewards is make it as easy as possible. And so this is an employer-sponsored tool that enables workers to convert part of their net pay into Bitcoin and have the employer offer some kind of a reward or a perk or a match. And it's totally unique. We're the only company in the world that does this right now. I believe that this is the most significant and innovative thing an employer can consider offering. And
I think it's pretty cool. And Kelowna Now is going to help with that too. We're going to put a link into these stories. That's kind of how the thing. You're going to use that link, and then.
And you guys are current customers.
We're a customer too. Yeah. So it's a weighted dollar cost average in as well. So that's the other thing. If a lot of people are scared. Like when you're buying investments, and I'm not giving investment advice, but a lot of people are scared if all of a sudden you say, well, I'm going to put 5% in today. Right, and then it goes down, and you're just like, oh my God, and then you get scared because Bitcoin will fluctuate, right?
Oh,
it's 118 today, it could be 100 tomorrow, it could be 90 tomorrow, and it could be 180 tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? It is still highly volatile. So averaging in on the payroll savings plans makes a lot more sense, and then you're not kind of like always, freaked out of what the price is, because you really don't know what the price is. You've got, 1 month you're getting it at 100, and 1 month you're getting it at 120. You know what I mean? Like over time, your dollar cost averaging, and it is kind of the smarter way to even buy stocks, right? Like your dollar cost average in.
There's also like, we're helping people overcome a really nerve-wracking technical gap.
Yeah, how to buy it.
How to buy it.
That was before I met you, it was so frustrating. I tried to buy it through a bunch of different apps, couldn't get it done. Like there's so many hurdles and so many different things, so many disclosures, and I was just like, oh my God, this is like. And that's why I was just like kind of frustrated with it as well.
Yeah, and everyone knows the easiest way to save is pay yourself first, and if it comes off your pay stub, that is the easiest way to.
So it's a unique way, and you're the only ones doing it so far that you know of in Canada, anyway.
Anywhere.
Really?
So there was a company that was doing this in the U.S. They got out of it. Payroll type products that are geared towards employers it's a very niche business. And
so you kind of have a background in it though too, right? Because you used to sell, I don't know, do you still do benefits at all?
No, I don't anymore, but my background is benefits and pensions.
Yeah. So you're coming from that, and you just took basically just like almost anything, right? You took what worked and just kind of converted it into something that's new and modern. And if you look at the success of Tesla, that's all they've done too.
Exactly. And I absolutely believe, we're not talking about taking 100% of your paycheck in Bitcoin, but the idea that people will want some, and this will be a tool that will help employers stand out and recruit and retain the people that they were looking for in the hiring market. And that's where this is going.
And we're going to put a link in the YouTube video here. So if you're interested in that, you're going to click that link, and then Scott's going to reach out to you and show you how easy it is. And then you could, it's, like benefits is one of the big retention things for employers too, right? Like,
absolutely.
Because, people, where's my dental? Where's this? Where's that? And they kind of stick around because they don't quit as often because they're just like, oh, if I leave, I won't have dental, I won't have this, I won't have that. And then this is just, obviously they can take their Bitcoin with them, but it's just another thing that kind of ties them to an employer, right?
Yeah, and employers are continuously looking for the highest return on their spend on the budget for these things, and they want to be able to stand out and deliver things that are going to make a meaningful difference. Yeah. So we have customers that have been with us for 2 years now, and somebody who's put in $10,000 in their savings with us now has $50,000, and there is no other asset an employer could have offered that employee during that time that would have done that. And so, they our long-term customers, they love us.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, it is kind of like we talk about the future. We do the really big show as well, and we've been talking about Bitcoin every day. We actually have a Bitcoin section that we do every day. We talk about Bitcoin and talk about the changes, and I do believe what was passed here just today, I think, was it final thing today or yesterday, or whatever, the Genius Act, whatever. There's 3 bills, right?
Yeah.
And then they wanted no CBDCs, right? Which
Yeah.
is, I think Canada's still playing with that CBDC thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to accomplish it still in sort of a workaround way because the U.S. has these stable coins, which they are moving forward with, and the stable coins are a way. Part of the reason why I think they're behind this in the way they are is that it's going to potentially proliferate the dollar dominance and dollarize the rest of the world. Because really, people all over the world want Bitcoin, but they really want dollars. And, in Turkey or in Argentina or places where, I saw today that in Venezuela, the month-over-month inflation is 13% and the annual price inflation is 500. So
it's gone down.
Yeah. But I mean, so people need dollars.
Not that it's funny for Venezuelans, but
no, yeah, totally. But I mean, it's, we get frustrated about how it's going here, but all currencies are hyperinflating just at different speeds.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the dollar buying of 1928, what a dollar bought then, and then what a dollar buys today, right?
Well, I mean, you were talking about before the show, buying a house in Edmonton in 1997 for $140,000. Yeah. And that cycle.
Brand new house built,
there
right?
You go.
Yeah. 135 actually, but yeah. 1,800 square foot, 2-story, 1.5-story, I guess. And
wow.
Yeah, you're not buying that today. You can't even get a lot for that here in Kelowna. I think lots are still in the 550 range, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's a problem that will continue to get worse forever. So it's not like, and this is, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but the idea that inflation is getting under control, inflation is a part of how the system works. The system is not broken.
It's built. It's baked in. It's baked in, and because the people love asset appreciation, right?
Yeah.
And then the inflation is actually good for the wealthy, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
That's been proven over and over again, and they get more wealthy with inflation, right?
Yeah.
And so they like it. So that's why the central bank has a target rate, right?
I mean, it's a target of how much of all of our wealth is being stolen.
Yeah, it's taxation, really.
Right.
Inflation is taxation for the people that don't. If you're a consumer, basically, if you're just consuming rent and food and stuff like that, it's not great for you.
How hard is the hamster wheel becoming to spin every year? How much harder?
Yeah. We're going to do this every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're going to put that link in there, so if you want to check it out. But like I said, the rate of the way that technology is moving is just crazy, and Bitcoin is part of that. I do want to ask one more question, though. Tom Lee, I'm sure you know who Tom Lee is, right? He's big on Ethereum now, too. Thoughts on Ethereum at all?
Yeah, I think that it's a giant Ponzi scheme, and they're trying to let it fail as slow as they can so they all avoid prison. But
well, there you go. You heard it from the Bitcoin guy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, the general, we've done conversations about Bitcoin versus cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the world is going to converge on one currency in the internet. And the reason they will do that is because what people really care about when they're owning a form of money is that its ability to retain its value and how it's accepted. Bitcoin is by far the most accepted and used, and it's by far the most, in terms of its reliability for retaining value and growing, it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin has always been the number one. And maybe just one quick point about that. The price of Ethereum today, I don't know what it is. It's
3,200 something.
Sure. And so the all-time
US.
It's 50% off its all-time high price, which Bitcoin hit when it was like 50,000. So if you've been owning Ethereum instead of Bitcoin, you've been getting creamed. Yeah. And so the exchange rate between Ethereum and Bitcoin has been it's down to the right. Owning Ethereum only buys you less Bitcoin over time, and because no other cryptocurrency can compete with Bitcoin's price appreciation over extended periods of time, nobody's going to want to own it. It won't matter what else it can do.
I'll give an example to all the old mining guys out there that, resource stocks used to be a big deal. It's called closology. And so there's the mine, I don't care what mine it is, Diamet, let's say, the diamond mine discovered, the diamond stock goes crazy, like Diamet here locally did really well. All the little potential mines all around Diamet, closology made them run up, but at the end of the day, they were worth nothing.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because most of the cryptocurrencies is basically a closology story,
Yeah.
right? And just like, oh, we're just like it, and but they don't have any there's no like there's a whole bunch of reasons why it doesn't work is
like
because
the United States.
infinite supply, all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff, and people can dream one up tomorrow, and
And the stuff we were talking about at the start of the conversation around the profile of the buyer.
Yeah.
The United States is not talking about a strategic Ethereum reserve. And we're not going to see, actually, two companies have tried to do a corporate Ethereum reserve, and both of them, the stocks tanked.
Yeah.
So there's no appetite for.
I can go through the closology plays in Canada's resource history. They take some of the biggest discoveries in Canada. The big nickel discovery in Voisey Bay. I don't know if you remember that one. You're probably too young for the big Voisey Bay discovery. That was huge. That massive discovery. That stock went through the roof. And then everything around it, as Voisey Bay went up too. But then obviously when they start putting drills in the ground, all they found was rock and poof.
Yeah, I mean, and I think
magic dust.
there are a lot of these ultra wealthy people trying to pontificate on Bitcoin. They don't really understand it, and most people who are trying to understand, where this price could go over an extended period of time, don't understand the vast potential for use cases and application.
There's a reason for market leaders though too, and I'll give you a couple other examples. I don't want to close it off for today, but like in market leaders, even in the AI race, there's a few contenders right now. There's OpenAI, obviously, ChatGPT that most people are familiar with, and Super Grok with Elon Musk and what he put behind. Never bet against Elon. And then there's Google, which is doing really well, but then Apple Intelligence with, I think that's like ironic, right? Like it's pretty bad. But there's a few, so don't expect a dark horse to come out anymore because the amount of money required to get into the game now and the amount of compute power that's required is it's tough, right? Really, really tough. And the other one is like you've seen, there's only one EV company really that's making EVs of significance right now because the market leader, if you look at Tesla, to see second place, you need a telescope, right? So the same thing goes for Bitcoin. Like if you're interested in the crypto space or whatever, I would do your homework, but then again, just think of all the stuff we just talked about in closology, and you can bet on the real deal, or you can play the closology one, but recognize that a lot of those are going to be speculation.
I mean, and like there's to add a layer to that, because we're talking about money instead of technology.
Yeah.
We actually have like 5,000 years of the history of money and economics to understand. There's a reason why the world converged on gold, and we didn't equally view copper and silver and other forms of metals. Right? It is a binary thing. When one thing is better at preserving its value than everything else, the market will understand it.
Yeah. What's the closology to gold?
Exactly.
Fool's gold.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the closest thing to gold is fool's gold.
There was a famous story, right, of those two American brothers that tried to revive the price of silver.
Hunt brothers.
Yeah. And they got absolutely wrecked.
1980. Yeah. So silver sells, a lot of stuff's at all-time highs. Silver is not yet. Silver is like close though at $38, right? Because the Hunt brothers ran it up to 50, right? An artificial.
But I mean, inflation adjusted. It's like brutal.
Yeah. No, it's not great. But silver is a in-demand thing for as technology goes too, right? And that's probably what's holding the price up there right now. Because you could bought silver, I don't know, about 3-4 years ago in the tens.
Cheap.
Right, dirt cheap, right? And if you need a werewolf hunting, you need some of that, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to get if they're a werewolf? Look, you got I don't know where that came from, but we're going to be back every 2 weeks. We're going to put the link in there. So if you're interested in a payroll, and even for yourself, like if you have a company and you want to start doing payroll savings plan, obviously the more, I think, the way that Bitcoin's going, I think you're going to see, some pretty good adoption as more and more people, you're going to probably become too busy.
Hope so. Find us at blockrewards.ca.
All right. Thank you for watching Now Media.